Hello, my beautiful lightworkers. I hope you're having a wonderful afternoon. It's so great to be here with you today for the second time today. I have one more workshop coming up at 7 p.m. UK time, but I'm so excited to be joining you here to chat all about your spiritual practice. And specifically, I will guide you through a step-by-step process to craft the perfect spiritual practice for 2019, a spiritual practice that's practical, that's doable, that's soulful, that will help you really get in touch with your divine self and receive the action steps that you need to follow to find and follow your life purpose. Hello, Maritza. Hello, Mikaya. Hello, everybody joining us here. Hi from New York and hi from New Zealand. Okay, before we start, let me introduce yourself and do some housekeeping first. My name is George Lizos. I'm a spiritual teacher. I'm an intuitive and the author of Be the Guru, a step-by-step guide to becoming your own spiritual teacher. I work with empaths and lightworkers, helping them to overcome the fears and limiting beliefs that prevent them from finding and following their life purpose through transformational spiritual processes, intuitive guidance, and soulful journeys, all with the aim of being happy, of overcoming all the blocks that hold us back, helping people heal and contributing in the ascension of the planet. I want to share with you this wonderful Buddha candle holder that Soul and Spirit magazine is giving away for free to anybody who subscribes to the magazine for 3 issues. You can get the link in the description of this live video right above. If you click see more, you'll be able to see the first link I mentioned. And this offer expires at midnight UK time today. So be sure to go check it out. It's a wonderful centerpiece for your altar. I personally have this in my living room. I created a whole new altar there. And whenever I sit there and my guests sit there and just gaze into Buddha's figure, we just get a sense of ease, a sense of meditation. It's just a constant reminder to be more mindful about our emotional state so that we're constantly reaching for connection with source. So be sure to make use of this opportunity, as it's such a fabulous gift that Soul and Spirit is kind to give away for free. Alrighty, so I want you to be fully present during this time with me today. I want you to turn off any distractions, to make sure you're completely alone. Have pen and paper nearby, because I love teaching. I have many practical processes and many steps that I'm going to give you to help you to craft the perfect spiritual practice for 2019. I'd also like to invite you to hang out with me on Instagram and share your experience with this workshop. You can find me there at George Lizos. And also come hang out with me in my free private Facebook group community for empaths and lightworkers called Your Spiritual Toolkit. And you can get all the links for that again in the description above. Okay, let me see who's joining me here. As you're coming in, please say hi, say where you're watching from, and let me know what you're sipping on, because I'm having some coffee here. Just what I need after lunch, just to raise our vibration. Hello from Kansas. Hello from New Zealand. Hello, everybody joining us live. Okay, are you guys ready to craft the perfect spiritual practice? Before we start, I want you to let me know quickly in the comments with a quick yes or no. Do you have a daily, consistent spiritual practice? Let me know yes or no. And if you want, share with me your practice so I can give you some guidance as well. But first, let's define what a spiritual practice is. A spiritual practice is a daily, consistent happiness practice that allows you to connect to your divine self. Now, to properly understand what the spiritual practice is and how you can use it with purpose, you need to understand what you're made of. So you're part spiritual being and you're part physical being. So you have a soul and you also have an ego. Now, the ego has gotten a bad rap. Many spiritual texts just love to bash on the ego. I'm not of that school of thought. I love the ego. The ego is something we all need because it's something we're made of. It's something our entire world is made of. What ego is, it's basically us as non-physical, invisible source energy, manifesting ourselves, expressing ourselves in physical form. Therefore, source energy, immaterial, all-powerful, all-knowing source energy, flowing through different avenues, expressing itself in a contrasting environment just so it can have an experience with itself and therefore grow. In other words, you are you and I am me, but in essence, we are one. In essence, we're made out of the same kind of source energy. But in order to be able to have a meaningful interaction with each other and expand what source energy is, we just chose to manifest in separate bodies with different names, different characteristics, different personalities, just so we can create this contrasting, diverse environment so we can interact with each other, have contrast, therefore negative experiences, therefore have desires, and eventually expand consciousness, create more of who we are. Now, the problem with the ego and the reason so many books bash the ego is because many times we forget that we're not just ego. We forget that we have a soul too. We forget that in truth, we are one. And we have this divine self that's always through us, guiding us, connecting us with the all. And we start defining ourselves as simply our ego. We start seeing ourselves as solely ego, and therefore it's just us up against the world. And when we see ourselves in that way, then we start being fearful of other people. We start being fearful of the world. We start being competitive with each other, and we lose our way. We lose touch with our life purpose. We don't know how to find our connectedness, the connectedness we were born with, and therefore receive the guidance that we need to take action, to be happy, to do what we were meant to do in the world. So the spiritual practice, it's a daily practice where we remind ourselves that we're not just ego. It's a daily spiritual practice where we remind ourselves that the ego doesn't run our lives, our divine self does. It's not a matter of overcoming ego. It's a matter of reassuring the ego and reminding the ego that yes, it's in the car with us, but it's not in the driver's seat. That who's driving the car is our divine self, not the ego. So that's why having a spiritual practice is so important. And I can see some no's here, some yes, some people do have a spiritual practice, some don't. That's okay. I hope you understood right now the importance of a spiritual practice. And if you don't have a spiritual practice, I'm going to give you some really practical ways you can start having a spiritual practice in a way that you don't shock your ego, because ego doesn't like change. So when we introduce like a big spiritual practice, like let's say an hour of a spiritual practice every single day, the ego panics and it's just gonna run away and not, it's gonna try and sabotage our whole experience so that we don't grow, so that we don't find our alignment with source. That's why it's very important when you're starting out on your spiritual journey that you introduce your spiritual practice piece by piece, step by step, so that you don't overwhelm your ego and allow your ego to ease into the state of connectedness with source. Okay? Now, the other most important purpose to having a spiritual practice aside from connecting to source is to fulfill our life purpose. Remember, light worker, you're a light worker, not a light chiller, meaning that you came into this world with a specific purpose that you have to work your light in helping other people heal and helping in the ascension of the planet. Now, in the first live broadcast that I did on Soul and Spirit Magazine's Facebook page today, I did an entire 40-minute session about finding your life purpose. But let me give you a short recap as to what your life purpose is specifically. I'm going to tell you about the 4 purposes that all light workers share, and we all share together. So our first purpose is the collective lightworker purpose. And this is the purpose that all lightworkers have, that has to do with ascending the energy of the planet, ascending the vibration of the planet, so that we create a more kind and a more peaceful world. Your second purpose is your soul realm purpose, which is the collective purpose of different soul realms. Soul realms are groups of soul. We have groups of souls. So we have the starseeds, who are souls that come from different planets. We have incarnated angels or incarnated elementals. We have the wise ones. We have the earth angels. We have the indigo children. We have the rainbow children. We have the crystal children. We have so many different soul realms. Do you know your soul realm? By the way, you may simply come from planet Earth and not have a realm from another planet. And that's totally okay, by the way. We're all light workers. But when you find your soul realm, that gives you clues as to what your collective soul realm purpose is. Which, for example, if you're an incarnated elemental, the purpose of all incarnated elementals is to help Mother Earth heal. So they focus around nature. So that is your soul realm purpose. Then you have your soul purpose. The soul purpose draws from the soul realm purpose, and it is your soul's purpose over a series of lifetimes. For example, if your soul realm is incarnated elemental, and therefore your soul realm's purpose is to help with healing nature and Mother Earth, your soul purpose, your specific personal soul purpose, could be marine conservation. So something related to your soul realm collective purpose, but spread over many different lifetimes, because to fulfill your soul purpose of marine conservation, you may need hundreds of lifetimes until you eventually fulfill it. First lifetime, you experience the problem. Second lifetime, you register the problem. Third lifetime, you begin learning how to deal with the problem. Fourth lifetime, you start taking action towards improving the problem. So do you see how this works? So that is your soul purpose. Then we have your life purpose, which is a personal purpose that draws from your soul purpose. In other words, it is a step towards fulfilling your soul purpose. It's a step in the many lifetimes you need to have to fulfill your soul purpose. And it's crafted after your unique set of skills, personality characteristics, interests, talents, and abilities, who you are in this lifetime. It's crafted after a combination of your ego, therefore your physicality, as well as your divine self, and therefore your connectedness with Source. And if you go to that previous lecture that I did, the previous session that I did here on this page, you'll be able to watch the entire workshop and learn how to define your life purpose. But essentially, I gave people a free downloadable PDF guide, guiding people through my proven step-by-step formula to not just finding your life purpose, but defining your life purpose in a 1 to 2 paragraph definition. So if you want to do that, you can do it right now. All you have to do to get this free downloadable guide is to go to my Instagram account at George Lizos. You can see the link in the description of this live as well. Make sure you're following me on Instagram, and then leave a comment in my latest post saying #lifepurpose, and then I'll DM you, therefore I'll private message you with a link to download the guide. It's such an amazing guide. It's a proven guide that I've used with thousands of people over the years to help them define their life purpose. It's a technique I've learned over the years, and I've fine-tuned in the past 2 years. So I'm so excited to share this with you completely for free. Okay, let me just see your comments. Mikhaila says, I think I'm a fairy, an earth angel, also connected to the cosmos. Ooh, I love to hear that, Mikhaila. And if you're a fairy, I have another Facebook group called Elemental Communication Facebook group, which is all about communicating with the elementals, such as mermaids, dragons, fairies, gnomes, sylphs, and unicorns. So be sure to search for that on Facebook and get in. You're gonna love. We have some great resources in there. Wonderful. So now you know that the purpose of having a spiritual practice is so that the ego is not in the driver's seat, but your divine self is, and so that you follow and fulfill your life purpose. Because when you have a spiritual practice, you're aligned to your source, therefore you receive the guidance and the steps that you need to take in order to follow and fulfill your specific life purpose. Now, let's talk a little bit about the 3 components for an effective spiritual practice, what your spiritual practice needs to have in order to really work. The first component is happiness. Your spiritual practice has to be a happiness practice. Remember, your divine self, source, has this vibration of happiness, of love. So essentially, when you feel happy, you're in alignment with your source. You're in alignment with your divine self. So your spiritual practice has to be a happiness practice so that you are connected to the vibration of source. And that's where the point of your spiritual practice doesn't really have to be spiritual comes in, because many people don't have a spiritual practice because they feel they're not spiritual enough. They feel like they have to know mantras and specific meditation techniques. They feel like they have to do yoga and dress a certain way. No, you don't have to do that. I love wearing my beautiful Tommy Hilfiger clothes. I'm not gonna wear special clothes just because I have to call myself spiritual. You can be a normal person and be spiritual. You don't need to dress a certain way. You don't need to speak a certain way. You don't need to speak softly or just not use certain words. You're supposed to be human. You're supposed to have a human experience. Spirituality is simply guiding yourself to choosing love over and over again. No matter your life experience, no matter where you are, you're choosing to follow the direction of love. It's not about being perfect. It's not about being happy 24/7. It's about knowing how to bring yourself home when you go astray. That's what spirituality is all about. Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments, because there is so much misconception about spirituality. Many people expect us to be a certain way, but we're just human. We're allowed to be imperfect after all. Okay, so your spiritual practice has to be a happiness practice. Therefore, you don't need any complicated spiritual mantras in order to have a spiritual practice. You just need to have activities that inspire within you a sense of happiness. Walking your dogs, singing, dancing, reading a book, anything that inspires within you a sense of happiness that you do consistently on a daily basis is part of your spiritual practice, period. So you have permission, Lightworker. You don't need complicated mantras or meditations to be spiritual. Just take your dog out for a walk. Just go for a nature walk. Just sit for a moment and think positive thoughts. Just read something positive. Just listen to a song. Dance. Have dance parties in your room every single day. That's as much of a spiritual practice as meditation is. So that is the first component to an effective spiritual practice. The second one is consistency. Your spiritual practice, to be a practice, it has to be consistent. That means you have to do it daily at the same time every single day. Now, the reason I'm so definite and strict about this is because if you just do it haphazardly and you don't have a structure and a routine to it, then it's not really a practice. When you declare to yourself and to the universe that this is my spiritual practice, that every single day at this specific time, I'm going to show up for me, then you show source and the universe that you're taking your life purpose seriously. You're showing the universe that you're not just in it for the short term, that you're in it for the long term. You're telling the universe, you see, universe, I'm serious about following my life purpose. I'm serious about helping make the world a better place. And I'm showing up for me in a structured way every single day. When you make this statement and then you show up day after day, the universe will show up for you too. Because when you show up for you, the universe shows up for you. So your spiritual practice has to be consistent. It has to be daily, same time every single day. It can be the morning, it can be the evening. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Okay, another sip. Beautiful. By the way, if you have any questions at this point, please let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you towards the end. Okay, now let's move to the third component that your spiritual practice needs to have in order to be effective, and that is the duration. So the third component is duration. Your spiritual practice has to be at least 15 minutes. No less than that. It can be more, but no less. That's because although practicing happiness for 5 minutes is still good, it's not good enough. Because all emotions, happiness included, are like muscles. It's like going to the gym. Like, let's say you go to the gym once a week. Will you get the results you want in a month? If you exercise only once a week, you will get some results. Your body will be a little bit more toned, but you won't be where you'd want to be. On the other hand, when you exercise daily, or like, let's say, for example, 3 times a week, then you'll get the results soon enough. It's the same with happiness. Happiness is a muscle. You need to exercise it consistently and for a long period of time in order to stick. So if you practice happiness for 5 minutes every single day, it's not gonna stick likely. So 15 minutes is enough for your body to get used to the emotion of happiness, for your happiness muscle to grow, and for it to become a constant in your life. Okay, so let's wrap up a little bit about the 3 components of your spiritual practice. It has to be a happiness practice, it has to be a consistent, and it has to have a duration of at least 15 minutes. And if you want to push it a little bit more, you can go to 30 minutes. Now, tell me in the comments, which of these 3 components have been missing from your practice? Was it happiness? Was it consistency? Or was it duration? Quickly in the comments, let me know the words of which of these components was missing from your practice. Now, I want to touch a little bit on how to deal when you relapse from your spiritual practice, because let's take this for granted. We are humans and we relapse. We're not machines. We can't just program ourselves to be a certain way and be a certain way without relapsing. But the good news is that although you will relapse, therefore you will stop practicing your spiritual practice and just give up once in a while. The good news is the more you do it consistently, the stronger your happiness muscle gets and the less you will relapse. The last time I relapsed, I think it was 2 years ago. And by relapse means not meditating in the morning. So for the past 2 years, I've been having a consistent daily spiritual practice every single day. My full spiritual practice takes now 3 hours, but at its minimum, 15 minutes every single day. But there was a time when I was relapsing more and more, like every single week. So how do you deal with relapse? I used to judge myself. I used to just destroy myself with words like, oh, you're not good enough, you're not spiritual enough. Who are you to be a spiritual teacher when you can't even maintain a daily spiritual practice? I used to be so judgmental with myself. And then I realized it was just, I was doing more harm to myself than I was doing good to myself. So don't judge yourself. So let me give you the 3 steps that you need to take right after you relapse to come back to your practice. The first step is you have to acknowledge you relapse. Don't lie to yourself. Don't over-spiritualize it and say, oh, all is well, all is well, all is well, nothing happened, all is well. No, you have to own it. I have relapsed. and just allow yourself to feel whatever emotions you want to heal. The second step is to forgive yourself and just tell yourself, that's okay, George, you're human. You're allowed to relapse. You're not supposed to be perfect. You're not a robot. You're not a machine. It's okay to relapse once in a while. Just own that. And then the third step to dealing with relapse is start slow. Don't just start immediately the other day with 15 minutes of meditation, then 15 minutes of yoga, then praying, then doing rituals and calling upon the gods and the goddesses. Step by step, start slow. Don't shock your body. If you add too many activities to your spiritual practice too soon after you relapse, you're gonna shock your body and then you're gonna relapse again. So start slow, start with 5 minutes of meditation and then build that up. Okay, so these are the 3 steps to dealing with relapse with your spiritual practice. First one, accept you've relapsed. Second step, forgive yourself for doing so. Third step, start slow the following day. And let me go to your comments. So you're saying all of the components was missing. So the 3 components have been happiness, consistency, and duration. Marisa says all. Trolleen says all. Harjot, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Consistency. Oh, and I see some judgment there as well from Trolleen. I know. It gets better. It gets better when we're being more kind to ourselves. We're so used to being kind to other people, but we forget that we're people too. We're people too that need kindness and love and peace. Okay, so always give kindness to yourself first. Okay, now I want to give you some tools that you can use to enhance your spiritual practice. Let's say you have a spiritual practice, you've done it consistently for, let's say, about a month, you're pretty good at it, and you want to enhance it even more. Let me give you my top tips and tools to enhance your spiritual practice so that you enhance your connection to Source and receive more guidance specific to following your life purpose. The first tool I have for you is change things up once in a while to keep yourself engaged. You'll notice that when you start a spiritual practice and commit on doing something every single day to inspire within you a sense of happiness, eventually you'll reach a level of happiness and you'll reach a plateau where you're not able to get happier than that. And Lightworker, take a note of this right now. There is no limit to happiness. There is no limit to how happy you can be. You cannot be happiest. You can always be happier and happier and happier and happier and happier, and therefore increase your connection to Source and receive more and more guidance to following your life purpose. Okay, so when you've reached a plateau to your happiness level and you wonder, how can I be happier? Change things up. Completely change the activities that you have. Let's say you meditate every morning, you light up candles, you write 10 things you're grateful for. Change things up. You can dance to yourself in your room by playing your favorite songs. You can do some journaling, or you can read something inspirational. So change things up just so your body is used to reaching for more happiness. Because when you repeat the same thing over and over again, it just becomes same. My second tip to enhancing your spiritual practice is increase the time. Now, last year, when I was working a full-time job and then only doing this work, my spiritual work part-time, I didn't have enough time in the morning to dedicate, let's say, an hour to my spiritual practice. All I had was 15 minutes, and that is enough. However, as I became self-employed and I have more time, and even while I worked a full-time job, if you work a full-time job, you can do this as well. You can do 15 minutes in the morning, and then you can dedicate more time during your lunch break to go somewhere and meditate. I used to go to the park and meditate in Hyde Park in London, which was lovely. I used to go out for nature walks. I used to have a spiritual practice in the evening as well. I just upped the time, because the more pockets of happiness you instill in your lifetime, the more you train yourself to be happy. Remember, happiness is a muscle that you need to practice every single day. Right now, my spiritual practice is 3 hours long. I know not everybody can do that, but if you can, do so. Push yourself to increase it. I meditate in the morning, then I go for yoga for 1 hour, then I come home, I light up candles, I do an oracle card reading for myself, I read my books in my altar over there, I call upon the goddesses and the gods, I connect, I do hymns. So I've expanded my practice to 3 hours because I just enjoy that. I just enjoy being in that space of connectedness. You can do that step by step. Don't push yourself. If you feel like you want to and you can, do so by all means. You're gonna love it. Another thing that you can do that's more possible and easier, especially if you have a full-time job, is to have a morning and an evening practice. And I call this the sandwich practice. So think of your happiness as a sandwich. Okay, so if you add happiness in the start of your day and happiness towards the end of your day, then you are creating 2 solid frameworks that maintain happiness during your day. The reason I call it sandwich is because you need bread in the bottom and bread in the top to maintain the contents and keep the sandwich together. Same thing with your happiness. If you have a spiritual practice at the start of your day and a spiritual practice at the end of your day, then you maintain your happiness throughout your day. The way you start your day will determine how you feel during the day. And the way you end your day will determine the way you feel when you wake up the following morning. Okay, so here's how that works. So you can have 3 activities in the morning or 3 activities in the evening, or 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. Whatever you can do. I like to say 3 activities are enough, varying them. It could be meditation, it could be journaling, it could be writing things you're grateful for, dancing, singing, playing with your dogs, going out for a nature walk, reciting a hymn, lighting up candles, giving yourself an oracle card reading. So many things that you can do on a daily basis. You can use this beautiful Buddha candle holder that I got from Soul and Spirit, and you can get that for free, by the way. I have a link for that in the description. When you get 3 issues of Soul and Spirit magazine, you get this entirely for free. You can have that as a centerpiece to your altar and just stare into this candle. That's a beautiful meditation to have. You light up the candle, you stare into the candle, and you visualize yourself being into that flame and how it feels like to be surrounded by the element of fire. It just cleanses and recalibrates your aura. So it's such a beautiful way to incorporate this as well in your spiritual practice. And the final tip I have for you is how you can use your spiritual practice to manifest specific desires. I have a specific process that involves creating manifestation altars. A manifestation altar is an altar created specifically with the aim of embodying a certain desire that you have that works for you in manifesting that desire into your life. It's about bringing together different elements, calling upon certain deities, using essential oils, crystals, shells, and other components to create sacred space that works for you in manifesting specific desires into your life. And I have an entire workshop about how you can create manifestation altars. Again, I've included the link in the description right above. So if you click on see more, right below the points of this, the bullet points that I have, you see the links mentioned. The last link is Manifestation Altars Workshop. So you learn how to build and create your own manifestation altars. Alrighty, I think this concludes my second session for today. I'm so excited for you to join me for the final session that happens at 7 p.m. UK time. That's gonna be all about past life regression. Specifically, I'll teach you 5 ways you can use past life regression to transform your life. That's gonna be a full-on workshop. I've created a slide presentation, so a keynote presentation. I'll be sharing those slides with you, taking you through a beautiful journey packed with practical tools and guidance and meditations that you can use to use past life regression not just as a form of spiritual entertainment, but to create real change in your lifetime. So be sure to make a note of the time, 7 p.m. UK time, and show up live here on Soul and Spirit Magazine's Facebook page to benefit from that workshop as well. And also don't forget to grab your free life purpose guide, my 3 step-by-step guide. All you have to do to get that is to follow me on Instagram at George Lizos, and then leave a comment on my latest post with hashtag life purpose, and then I'll message you with a link to this proven formula to finding and defining your life purpose. Finally, don't forget to benefit from this beautiful free gift that Soul and Spirit Magazine is giving to everybody who subscribes for 3 issues of Soul and Spirit Magazine. The link is in the description, and the offer expires midnight tonight UK time. So be sure to do this right now. Thank you so much for joining me live, and I look forward to seeing you later on tonight for 5 ways to transform your life with past life regression. Bye-bye, Lightworkers.